taking of this caused notable alertness and resulted in unusually animated talking for 2 hours with some visitors. Definitive subjective stimulation continued for 4 to 6 hours, comparable to the effect of 10 milligram of racemic amphetamine sulfate in the same subject. The gastrointestinal feeling resultant seemed agreeable, not unlike that following the computation of the bitter coffee or quinine water in these same tropical areas. The 200 gram of fresh material consumed would correspond to about 60 gram of air-dried material. Later, the experience of Alice was then swallowing of aqueous extracts from as little as 20 gram of dry kata material caused some degree of disagreeable gastrointestinal effects. However, after the tannins are removed from dry material extract, the aqueous extract becomes satisfactory to swallow in amount adequate for notable central nervous stimulation. Detonated extract in amount corresponding to 20 gram of dry material when taken by mouth usually cause notable effect, but after amounts corresponding to 40 gram are taken, the subjective effects are clearly evident. Dose of 20 milligram of dextro-nor-pseudoephedrine hydrochloride caused only minimal subjective effects of the order of the effect of 20 milli of 1-to-1 detonated extract. Following doses of 40 to 60 milligram of dextro-nor-pseudoephedrine salt, subjective effects were more evident. The effects of the 60 milligram dose were most comparable to those following the taking of 40 milli of 1-to-1 detonated extract derived from 40 gram of dry main lot of kata material. Experiments were carried out on the same individual at different times and controlled laboratory conditions. The subject remained supine for 2 or more hours during the observation of blood pressure, heart rate, and electrocardiograms. The material were then taken along with 200 ml of water about 2 hours after a light morning meal, and lunch was postponed until the conclusion of all observation of possible circulatory effect. Experiments were with 20 millimeter of 1-to-1 detonated extract, increased of 10 to 15 to 16 millimeter in systolic and 6 to 12 in diastolic pressure, with a change of 4 to 6 pulse per minute were noted but are not definitely outside normal variation. Some gastrointestinal discomfort and loss of appetite occurred. Opening of the nasal airway and dryness of the throat was evident. Increased awareness of the environments and of the heart rate was noted in one trial. A trial of 40 ml was made, and within 1 hour the nasal airway was more open and there was increased alertness, restlessness, and feeling of the increased muscular tension were noted. The observer noted increased eye and other body movements. After 90 minutes there was increased attention to internal and external phenomena, and breathing was slow and deepened. Increased alertness and talking continued for about 12 hours, and sleeping that night seemed light but was left to be adequate the next morning. Anorexia was evident for 10 to 12 hours. With dose of 40 milligram and 60 milligram of dextro-nor-pseudoephedrine hydrochloride, notable subjective stimulant effect resulted and some circulatory effects were noted. With the high dose of 30 millimeter increase in systolic and 12 millimeter increase in diastolic pressure were noted 3 hours after the administration of the test dose. Decreases in heart rate and of as much as 6 beats per minute were noted at this time. The nose was opened and the nose and mouth felt dry, and respiration was slowed with deepening. Marked alertness to external and internal phenomena resulted. Attention to and good vision for reading remained increased for 12 hours. but sleep thereafter appeared usual. Feelings of gastrointestinal fullness and anorexia were persistent. Study was made of the effect of the solution residual from complete extraction with both chloroform ether mixture and butanol of detonated extract at pH 10. The residual solution made natural as 5.1 concentrate was taken in 8 to 16 milli amount. Only slight changes in blood pressure without any changes in the subjective alertness were noted. Another solution, residual from removal of the extractable base and followed by the removal of renicate parcipital substance, was taken in amount that corresponded to 80 and 160 ml amount of 1:1 detonated extract without any notable circulatory changes or central effects being observed. Discussion. Our estimation of total extractable bases agree well with those reported by Paris and Mayos and it doesn't mean myself, it means those researchers who worked for this subject. Our isolation of about 0.1% dextronorepinephrine as sulfate in its optically pure form is somewhat higher than the quantities of crude total base sulfate isolated by beta. The exceptional optical purity of the material readily isolated indicates the absence of substantial amounts of any extractable bases other than dextro nor pseudoephedrine. Specific examinations for amphetamine isomers showed them not to be present in significant amounts. From the standpoint of making contribution to the stimulant activities of the plant material, as suggested by von Broek. Chromatographic study of the total extractable base fraction did not evidence any considerable amount of other nor pseudoephedrine or ephedrine isomer, or indeed of any other bases responding to general test reagent for nitrogenous bases. Tests with reagents notably sensitive to imidazole, indole, or phenol type bases showed their absence. Roughly quantitative comparison in man in the central stimulant aspect of the action of cat plant material between its aqueous extract and its detonated extract have resulted that corresponded to the amounts of pseudoephedrine isolated. When the effects of the total extractable bases were compared with the comparable amount of detonated extract in man, there was a correspondence in effects. The solution residual from removal of extractable base was inactive with even and 8 times increased doses. Precise quantitative evaluation in mice of the motor stimulant activities of the detonated extract in comparison with dextronorepinephrine showed that such centrally activity could be well accounted for by the amounts of this base present. Studies of the pressor and depressor activities of the detonated and other cat extract when injected intravenously into dogs indicated the presence of considerable amounts of some vasoactive material other than dextronorepinephrine. It was found that this was a non-extractable base that could be precipitated as a dibichromate, and this produce established as being pure choline dibichromate. Chromatographic evidence during its isolation did not show the presence of any substantial amount of any other quaternary ammonium base. The amount of choline that will be absorbed from oral ingestion of the cat material can only be of some nutritional significance. For dosages as large as 10 grams of choline salt can be taken orally by man without obvious pharmacodynamic response. The marked astringent quality of aqueous extract of cat materials is related to the most notable gastrointestinal effect of resulting from administration of these materials. These effects are minimized in the consumption by the slow extraction from chewed green plant material, and are most notably when concentrated aqueous extract of dried material are swallowed within a short period of time. These effects are made less evident by adding mixture of the plant extract with milk, and appears to be largely due to the quantities of extractable tannins in the plant material. When the action of extracts is studied upon isolated alien preparations, it becomes evident that the inorganic ions present in such extracts may also produce very substantial inhibitory actions upon gastrointestinal functions. Such actions are many times greater than can be ascribed to the action of a contained dextronorpseudoephedrine. It would appear that magnesium plays a large role among the inorganic ions present. Aside from the action of the tannins present in cat material upon the gastrointestinal tract, it would seem probable that the tannin may also play a substantial role in determining the substantious lethal dose when extracts are injected into animals. The toxicity of aqueous cat extracts under such conditions was found to be less than that of tea or mate extracts. The extractable base of cat material were found not to be comparably toxic to those containing the tannins, even with a 4 times greater dose based on the amount of plant material used. Satisfactory classification of the fluophane-producing tannins, such as those present in aqueous cat extract, is most difficult. Further, the relative pharmacological properties of tannin material has been found to vary substantially among different types. However, there is agreement that tannins can generally be readily absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. When absorbed at low level of dosage, tannins may enhance and prolong the effect of epiferrin and its action in the body. However, in large doses, the tannins can be very substantially toxic to animals and lead to liver and adrenal damage. Summary: cat adulis grows and selected in Ethiopia as good suitable cat material, contains about 0.1% of dextronorpseudoephedrine or on the base of air-dried material. This base occurs without any notable admixture or of ephedrine isomer. Amphetamine isomer or other extractable bases are not present in the pharmacologically significant amount. The central stimulant quality and quantities of extracts of such material can be well accounted for by the amount of dextronorpseudoephedrine therein found present. About 0.05% of choline is also present and contributes no significant pharmacological effect from oral ingestion of these materials. Inorganic ions, particularly magnesium ions, are present in amounts sufficient to cause local gastrointestinal effect. Fleabafine produces tannins are present in sufficient amounts within the consumed dosage range to produce marked gastrointestinal effect, causing responses leading to up to nausea and vomiting. These tannins also may produce effects systematically when adequate amounts are consumed acutely or chronically. Thank you very much. Next time I'm going to talk about whether cat cause addiction or not. I'll see you next time. Hello. Well, here I am back to continue telling you about my subject, cat poison chewed in Yemen. Now I'm talking about whether cat is causing addiction or not. So the question, does cat cause addiction? In Egypt and in 1956, the Arab League Committee on Narcotics have declared cat to be a narcotic which leads to addiction. On 10th April 19